Welcome to Secure Management Faculties, where your mind is key before you unlock what is seen. Security Agent Dreyfuse. Welcome. As a tradition standard for this channel, as far as right now in the present time, click below, hit the Sell Your Guns tab. If you have any additional firearms that you want to dispose of, get rid of, that you no longer want, but you want to make some extra currency in exchange, hit the Sell Your Guns tab, follow the prompts, fill out the paperwork, send your gun out, make that extra currency. Again, hit the description below, Sell Your Guns tab, a link, follow the prompts. All right, we're going to be talking about staging your firearm today. And we're going to be talking about 4 specific points in staging your firearm. And for visual preferences, I want you to imagine this to be close inside of your home. Something with defensive home, if you will. And we're going to be talking about why it is to have purposefully why you need to put those multiple firearms that you may have, or those few firearms you may have, to good use, and the reasons behind it. Okay, so first things first, let's start with the basics, or some basics, if you will. Let's start talking about the rounds. Now, particularly, home defense is for anybody to make their own personal choice. You can be a 22 guy, 9mm guy, 40, 45 guy, 5.56 guy. It doesn't matter. We start talking about different firearms at this point. So you need to get this together about what rounds that you want to use inside of your home, right? Usually people will probably gravitate traditionally towards shotguns, obviously because of the power, close quarters, and things of this nature, of shooting targets in compact, consolidated spaces and things like that. And shotguns get the point across as far as how it's projected and its history and rep and all that, with the racking of the pump and all that. But strategically speaking, that's a lot more so on skill and, making your personal preference with obviously some objective thought to it. So choose your rounds. Whether you want to go from 9mm, 40, it doesn't matter. Just understand the difference between obviously the actual rounds you're using from hollow points versus the full metal jackets entirely. And make your choices. Obviously, you want to get full metal jacketed hollow points so you can have some stoppage and not have that round penetrate or over penetrate and end up defeating the purpose of defending your home, and you might end up taking somebody that's a part of your home. But choose your rounds and understand where you want to go with that. Next up, we'll be talking about firearm type. Now, versus my recommendation, I would say, especially what most people would probably say in the modern era, you probably want to go with a semi-automatic weapon. Obviously a double action. My preference will be a double action without the exposed hammer. So that will be some type of striker fire pistol, like the Glock. And this is where you got to get really nippy on the details, which it doesn't matter. You want to think about here the firearm type, its accessibility, right? And you want to think also about whatever firearm type you choose. You want to choose the accessibility as far as it functioning and you getting it, and what problems can occur if you not getting to it as efficiently, even if things are set up already cooperatively. Let's say the gun is right there in the closet, but for whatever reason, when it's time to grab it, the gun falls. Let's say in the pit of whatever, clothes or something like that, or even if you had it organized, right? Let's say the mag falls out or something. Whatever extra additional problems that happens when Murphy's Law show up, they will happen. So, is your firearm easily, readily, and accessible to use ready off the bat, if you will? Or do you have to do extra complicated things to sort of prepare it, or, re-immobilize it into full action? You need to think about how you want that firearm to be charged. Do you keep one in the chamber consistently at all times, or do you always keep the mag full but not one in the chamber? Are you working with a revolver? How are your reloading skills in that capacity? Is your revolver loaded when you actually get into that point when you need it? And even when your revolver's loaded and you're done with your rounds and your cylinder's empty, do you have the capacity to reload singly and with revolver speed loaders? These questions are necessary, and you need to really start asking them, because depending on what firearm you choose, this will definitely dictate the performance on the startup, during, and when it's all finished. So you want to be ready for the extensive things that are necessarily needed in operating a firearm, and also the whole point and reason why having it and functionally engaging that weapon in terms of home defense and defending yourself, especially with shotguns. When we talk about shotguns, we're talking about a reload capacity that's different. Not so much as more complicated with the revolver, with basically 2 different reloading styles. And what I mean by that is, if you have speed loaders, you have speed loaders. If you don't have speed loaders, you don't have speed loaders. So, but with a shotgun, all the load capacities usually can be done by mechanistically setting up the rounds in your hand. You can speed load with a shotgun and things of this nature, but how are you on the instructional terms of your shotgun re-engagement, if you will, right? You can load the shotgun up, but how quick can you acquire your target right back after that when you're reloading, depending on how much you dispense in defending your home or personal space and things of this nature. The questions need to be asked when you're engaging with that type of firearm, because it's not the engagement for those type firearms that makes them so much lethal, or just so much lethal. It's being able to put them constantly back into the fight when you need them. All right, let's go back to size, or let's go to size. Firearm size is very important here. You're talking about being close quarters in a secluded space, geometrically designed for you to walk through spaces and doors, and the structures of each room's change. They condense and expand. How big do you want your firearm in a close quarter situation? How big do you want your firearm in a house? You know, do you need a shotgun with the extra extended barrel? You know, 22-inch barrel, things of this nature. You might want to, you know, compact that down, you know, to a shorter size. Think about, does this shotgun have to be a traditional tube loading manual shotgun? Could it be maybe a semi-automatic rifle style shotgun, if you will? That definitely will change the game if you think about their capacity. But just think about the size and orientate the actual purchase of that firearm based off of your household environment, and not a imaginary environment, or the environment at large when you're like out in the world, and let's say a war zone, if you will. The gun size wouldn't matter, because the capacity of the world is so much bigger. You rarely have problems unless you're in a condensed type of environment, such as a jungle going through tree brushes and things like this, or condensed cave or something like that. But the fact of the matter is, you want to think of your house in that perspective. At the end of the day, you need your firearm to be optimally built with the size proportionate to be able to move and execute and insert and retract or reinsert back into specific environments in your household without having to keep going through the fumbling and bumbling phase of bumping into things of this nature. Lastly, we'll be talking about location. Location is important here. So where are you storing your firearms? I already know we got the famous right under your pillow, right on your nightstand, right next to your bed. Those are usually where the handguns go. You probably might keep it under your bed, depending if it's a shotgun or not, or in your closet. All those are simple spaces. The most predominant one that is mostly important is one that is near accessible, and that's that one on the nightstand. It can be under the pillow and things of this nature, but you need something that's in plain sight, visual view, and no type of instruction can stop it from being in its single most space. What I mean by that is, the under the pillow method seems to be, oh, well, I keep mine under my pillow. That's great, but there are nights when you're going to be moving around, the pillow's going to be there, you're going to move around, you might knock it over on the side of the bed. You don't need to have anything obstructing the possibility of engaging that firearm. So something simple like the nightstand or the nightstand drawer, that's a standard space to start off. Think about certain locations like your vehicle. if you got your vehicle set up in a specific way, you can actually have a charging rack for your firearm that it can actually sit on, as long as it's properly set up and concealed from any visible point of view of looking through the windows, and can be spotted by someone. However you want to set that up, if that's possible, depending on the actual area of circumference inside of the vehicle, you'll be able to capitalize on having concealment and proper efficient use of obtaining the firearm in a vehicle condensed close quarter situation. But back into the house, if you're in specific areas, think about where that firearm needs to be accessible, such as the front closet if you have one by the front door. And when I say front closet, not the front closet where you store everything in, something that's specifically compacted and organized to the point where that gun is loaded and is ready. And again, back to the actual firearm, this firearm needs to be accessibly used. And in my preference and recommendation, we're talking about a double action pistol, striker fire, that comes with internal safeties, and all you have to do is pull the trigger. So at the end of the day, consider location wisely, whether you're talking about your bedside, whether you're talking about the front closet door, whether you're talking about under some sort of countertop that's just accessible when you're in an open space. It can be even obviously a tool shed. You're outside working or whatever, whatnot, and you have a simple tuck space, you know, of where a firearm can be in the mesh of tools and things of this nature. But obviously make it constructively neat, and if you need to conceal it, constructively concealed, but still accessible to the point where you don't have to do too much to get to it. All right, that'll be it. Secure management faculties, where your mind is key before you unlock what is seen. Security and Dreyfuse, don't need to say too much about that selling your firearm. Again, hit the description, click below. Once you hit the description, hit the Sell Your Guns tab. Sell your gun, fill out that paperwork, make some extra currency. Appreciate all who observe. Stage your firearm properly. Choose that firearm type right. Get those rounds accurate where you want them and need them. And don't forget about the size of that firearm as well. Again, appreciate it. See you on the next upload.